these three things when you are writing or developing your manuscript. So what are the essential elements of a manuscript, right? So that is something that is important. The first thing that is important in any manuscript, and I have told this earlier also, the foremost part is you've got to think about what is the theoretical framework on which I am going to build my arguments. They can be at the maximum two theories which you can either interlink or build upon. Usually you want to, in one manuscript, if you are using two theories, you've got to show how those two theories are connected. But uh, any social science manuscript, especially in our disciplines, management, OBHR, strategy, entrepreneurship, and social enterprises, all of these, you've got to think about what is the theoretical basis on which I am going to build my arguments, what are the theories to which I'm going to contribute through this research, and so on. So that is the first thing. The second is persuasive justification for every choice you make. Originating from theory, you've got to think about the constructs that I am choosing, right? Why did I choose these constructs? Why did I choose these variables? What is the importance of the variables that I have chosen? Has there been earlier, has there been research that has been done on this? Uh, what is the importance of these constructs? What is the literature telling us about these variables, these constructs, and so on, right? The second thing is about the empirical strategy. That is, if you are doing qualitative or you are doing quantitative research, you've got to think about what is the rationale for choosing this method, what is the rationale for choosing this kind of analysis. So that is the empirical aspect. And finally, you should, again, no research is free of limitations. So we've got to be cognizant of, be aware of the limitations of our method that we are choosing. And even though there are limitations in the method, why what we are saying in the manuscript is still valid, right? So what we are claiming, what we are stating in the manuscript, given the limitations of the method, given the limitations of the sample, the way we did this work, the claims still hold to be good. And obviously, what is the contribution to both theory and practice? Today, all journals, almost all journals mandate that in your paper you have a section where you talk about contributions that you made to the theory, that is the literature. And the second is you have a section which talks about contributions that you make to the world of practice. How does your findings impact the world of practice? What is it that the professionals can learn from your work and your research? So that becomes very important.
Sir, I have a question here, Lekha here.
Yes,
So when you said contribution to theory and practice, um, I'm a rookie in research, so I might be wrong here, but my observation tells me that mostly contribution to theory works more than practice, because ultimately researchers build on previous research, so it keeps on going. How much of this paper writing actually trickles down to real practice? Because I see a lot of these people coming back for executive MBA classes where they learn about age-old practices like 5 forces and value chain, and not about the papers that have been written now. So how does it trickle back? How does the cycle get completed? That I'm not able to visualize.
Okay, so this is a useful question. Who reads our work after making so many efforts? Where does our work really go and who is impacted using the research that we do. So I think what happens is we write papers and we publish them, uh, but we as academics, we do not do a serious job at really publicizing what we are doing. So I think uh, what we what to do also is, if you remember earlier, I had talked about good research gets covered in popular press, it gets covered in practitioner journals, it gets covered in textbooks and so on. So the world of practice will know what you are doing only when we make an effort to take it to the world of practice. They will not read, because as I said, there are in academics, there are thousands of journals today, right? And nobody has the time to do their full-time job as well as read journals. So I think we have to do this job ourselves. And what I do as a practice, let me tell you about my experiences. I uh, tend to, if there is an opportunity, I always write about my research in a newspaper. If I have written a new paper, and if uh, uh, I know someone who is in the media, I would write a 1,000 word article and share it with the newspaper guy and say, will you be willing to publish this in the newspaper, which summarizes the results that we have obtained in our work. So that is one. Then there are some business magazines that you can also approach, where you actually write short articles based on your research, which are not academic articles, but more like the news articles, the magazine articles that we study, which publicizes your work. And those are the things that you can then give to the professionals to read, rather than just the academic papers that are getting published in the journal. So to answer your question, yes, journals do mandate writing a practice implications for practice section, but honestly, it is. I would say that it is an opportunity for us to think about what are the implications for practice, and then maybe take that forward and write a more general article, which is easy to read and which any professional can read. For sure, those professionals are not going to read these academic articles.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for this insight. Thank you.
So Rifti here. So I have a question.
Yes.
So in the last slide, in regards to limitation, I just want to ask, when we read the limitations of a paper, for example, somebody said that I took up manufacturing industry,
Yeah.
others should take it service industry, or I took this sample, others should take this kind of a sample. So when the author knows that this can be a limitation, so why doesn't before writing or before doing the research that can be improvised?
Uh, well, it is, Rifti, it is easier said than done. If even if you know that you should be doing study in IT, manufacturing, maybe service, whatever, but I think it is a limitation more from the point of view of having the time, money, effort to actually collect data from so many places. So a lot of times people know that, well, we should do it, but just because they do not have that uh, time and energy, they limit to one industry and work on it. So I think that is more from the practical aspect of
Okay.
doing research, because getting data from one organization is difficult. Getting data from 10 organization is going to be very, very difficult, right? So I think that is That is the reason why people leave it at that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so what is the common problems in manuscript? Okay,